Okay, welcome back to the show. And I have a returning guest, a man that you only seen, was it last week, maybe 10 days ago? We done a show together. Obviously, there was a lot of interaction around it. Good to have you back, man. Mr. Paul Roma.
Hey, listen, it's great to be back on your show.
Yeah, great. Really had fun last time. Obviously, what we discussed was very topical in the wrestling news world, not only from the Ric Flair stuff, but to other things. And we'll start off with the Eric Bischoff one because we just talked about it off camera and I was trying to piece together what exactly happened. So if Eric's watching, apologies for the miscommunication and you can take it away.
Yeah, listen, I said that when I shot the video for the Four Horsemen, they had asked me about Eric Bischoff and, what if he was here right now and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I said that I would slap him and make him cry like a little bitch. I didn't say that I did. And when I heard that off camera, I was like, well, I got to straighten this out. I'm not one for telling stories, telling tales, and I just want to clear that up.
Yeah. And like while we're talking about Eric anyway, you said like while you were in WCW that Hogan obviously used him and kind of sucked the life out of him, I think is what you said, or something like that to within the business. So what's your relationship like with Eric and what was it like working there?
There was no relationship with Eric and myself. It was a business. Hello. That was it. I mean, I was more cordial with Vince McMahon than I was with Eric.
Yeah.
He got sucked into the Hogan, illusion. Hogan was telling him, oh, you should be in the movies. You're a great looking guy. And the reason I know this is because Hogan told me this, and laughed about it. He says, guy's such a mark. He buys everything that I'm selling him. And I was like, wow, how dumb could this dude be? You're running a business and you're buying this bullshit this guy's laying on you. Well, it worked, I guess. You know what I mean?
So you reckon that Hulk Hogan used Bischoff basically to rise himself to the top in WCW? Not that it wasn't probably going to happen anyway.
Hands down, without a doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind. And then he started bringing in his buddies, which I get it. You bring your friends in to make them money. I get it. But as I said to you last week, I believe I said this to you last week, when I work for a company, I give my all. I always want the company to succeed because that, gives me job security, right? So, I work hard. And, it wasn't about that for him. It was about, let me get as much as I can from everyone that I can. Like he had to beat everybody's finish, right? He had to kick out of everybody's finish. Just one of those things.
What were the main differences for you in between working with the WWF and working with WCW? And if you had a chance to go to either company tomorrow, which one would it have been like, and which one would it be now?
All right. So do I want to get hit with a baseball bat made of wood, or do I want to get hit with an aluminum bat? That's really what it comes down to. There are pros and cons for both. So while the locker room was really, really laid back at WCW, it wasn't as laid back in the WWF. So, there's some things you had to think about. You had to hash out. There was stress coming from people who for lack of a better word, wanted to have their way with you. And there was none of that over in WCW, at least not that I've ever heard of, ever saw. Whereas in the WWF, you know what's going on in the WWF or what has gone on in the past. They had their people who forced themselves on other wrestlers who end up, quitting the business. And take Owen Hart, God rest his soul. Travel with them, super nice guy. My understanding, and I could be wrong, was that he didn't want to come down, from the ceiling, and he was afraid to do that, and he was given an ultimatum, and he did, and it cost him his life. Is it true? I wasn't there. I don't know, but if there is any truth to that, there's the pressure that, you know, I talk about.
Yeah. With the recent events and all these kind of WWFE scandals coming out, and obviously you worked there in the 80s, like pretty much wrestling in the 80s, what I describe as kind of like rock and roll the 80s, and it's kind of party atmosphere and things like that. And there's things going on that shouldn't be going on. Do you think personally that there's a lot more stuff that will come out, not only against Vince McMahon, but the company itself that hasn't been told?
Wow. I mean, if they dig deep enough, obviously everybody has skeletons, right? No matter who and what you are, what you've done. So, yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm hoping that, and I believe it will be the case. Triple H turns this thing right around, keeps it really clean, you know, and I think he will. I think him and Stephanie being married, he gets it. I don't think he's that guy that's going to go and screw around with his secretaries or whatever the case may be, which is a great thing. I think he's that honorable of a person in his marriage. And again, I don't know him all that well. I worked with him in WCW, and then he moved on, and you know he's in WWE, and now he's in control of it, which is, I think, great. I think they both have their heads screwed on straight. At least that's the way it seems to me. I think he's going to put the right people in the positions that care about the WWE, that want to see it succeed, and not worry about just bringing in their friends and taking care of them and forgetting about the business. I think if he does that and keeps everybody around him that really, really cares, I think he's going to do really, really well. And I hope he does really, really well. You know, I don't wish harm on anybody. Yeah. And, you know, again, some of the things that I've said about him in the past, there are some things that I've retracted because I've heard, you know, good stories about how he tried to help the boys and position them. You know, use your brain. Don't piss your money away. You know, invest in it, do this or do that, or whatever the case may be. And again, I have all the respect in the world for somebody like that. Yeah. And I do for him.
Yeah. He's made some.
I've said some things about, you know, and I won't retract those things as far as, you know, he put himself, you know, in the manias without, you know, any real angles, or, you know, he gave himself, you know, push to the top. But you know what? Who wouldn't really have done that? Given that position? You married the boss's daughter.
So that's what I was going to say.
Done that, right?
He's
gotten that far. I mean, you were a jobber. You were no different than me in the beginning. So would you really have gotten that far without, you know, being married? Nah, probably not. But you know what? It's water under the bridge. You know, you're not working anymore. You're behind the scenes. You're developing a really good product. And I hope he succeeds in you know, carrying on.
Mm-hmm. He's inherited like a privileged position, and I have no doubts that he's not going to do anything stupid like his predecessor to fuck that up, really.
I hope not. I hope not. Well, you know what? I think Stephanie's tough. I think she'll, you know, give him a good swift kick, and that'll be the end of that. So, but I don't see him doing something like that when for the short period of time that I worked, you know, in WCW with him. I didn't see that out of him as a person anyway.
Yeah. One of his close friends and colleagues that you did work with a few times, one half of the Rockers, Shawn Michaels. What's your relationship like with Shawn these days, or how did you two guys get along?
I went to bat for Shawn. You know, he had gotten in trouble one night. I came to a room the next day. We were talking, and I said, listen, dude, you know, let's go get this straightened out. And he had called the office. And the office basically told me to back off, stay out of it. So I was like, okay. I mean, it came from the higher ups, right? You don't, I mean, they're the boss. That's my job, my livelihood. So I always had Shawn's back. I mean, again, that Rhode Island little scenario about my kid and him, you know, not wanting to tell my kid that, you know, I let him win. You know, it's one of the stories. That was a true story.
Yeah.
And, you know, laughed about it later on in years down the road. But I don't think that I ever had, or he's ever had, any animosity towards me, nor me him. An incident happened. It got fixed like that, right there on the spot. Great worker. I think he's doing a great job with the WWF or WWE. Obviously, because him and Triple H, they really got it going on. I mean, they put out a good product. So, can it be tweaked? Of course. Nobody gets, you don't catch everything, but they're doing a great job. Who am I? But good for them.
Yeah. We touched on this off air, and we're going to talk about just before we kick into this, I will say that I have invited Ric Flair onto this stream today to address the challenge made by Paul, but obviously no response. But we think we have somewhat of a response that I'll show to you in a few minutes. But we're going to talk about the match with Alex Wright now, and that will kind of lead us into more stuff with yourself and Rick. So do you want to take it away from that? That match is always talked about, and I actually only watched it last week. What exactly happened in the lead up to this match to kind of have it this way? Did you know that you were going, or what was going down?
Well, so the agreement that we had, we were going to do this who's prettier thing, right? I'm pretty, right. Paul Roma. We did this little skit where, I get upset with him because the girls they want him and not me, and all that.
Yeah.
So we sat back and we said, we want you to go around with this guy and teach him. We think he's going to be a real good asset for the company. And I said, okay, but, so we're going to lead it up to a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I said, but we have the understanding that I'm not going to do a job on pay-per-view. And absolutely not. In all the house shows, put them over. And then when we get the pay-per-view, it's not going to happen. I was like, cool, I'm good with it. So that was our understanding. When I got to the show that day, I saw where we are on the board and, where the names were. And normally where you're on one side of the board or the other, it usually tells you who's going over, right? So I looked on the board and I just said, hey, Rick, what do you want? How do you want this to go? And he says, well, they want him over. And I said, excuse me? And he said, they want him over. I said, what are you talking about? I said, we had an agreement that I didn't have to do the job on pay-per-view. I said, he goes, well, the office, it came down from the office. He goes, well, it's changed. And I said, what do you mean it's changed? He said, well, the office wants it this way. I said, oh, the office wants it this way. Because I didn't believe him.
Yeah.
I figured it was coming right from him. So as I walked through the curtain, I said some words, which was, this is all about respect, Ruby. Now, Ruby is short for Rubicaba, and he is Marty Elias, who was a referee.
Okay.
So he knew I was addressing him and talking only to him. Nobody else would have known that because I'm the only one who calls him Ruby. So when I got in the ring, I did what I needed to do to keep what I figured be strong. It had nothing. It wasn't personal against Alex Wright. I saw his podcast. I listened to it. They had asked him a question, and I get it. Everybody's got an ego, to some degree. And I understand he was protecting himself. And he said something about, they asked him if, he had his way with you, but could you have stopped it? Could you have prevented it? And he said, yes. Well, again, not tit for tat, but that's what it sounds like right now. That wasn't going to happen. Okay. Nobody's going to have their way with me. It's just the way that it was. I was just that person. So we did our thing. He went along with the program. Excuse me. I kicked out on 2.5. And obviously they got the 3 count for the belt. I went into the locker room. People were telling me what a great match it was. One of the office personnel, Paul Orndorff, said, what a great match. I got home. I received the letter from FedEx. I read it. It basically said, finish out your bookings. We don't longer need your service. Well, about the time I read it, I got a phone call and it was Rick. And he's like, hey, what's going on? I said, nothing. He goes, hey, so you don't want to wrestle anymore? Just like that. And I went, what are you talking about? And he said, well, I don't think you want to wrestle anymore. I said, why would you say that? He goes, well, that match you had. I said, what about the match I had? With Alex Wright? I said, it was a good match. He goes, well, that's your opinion. I said, no, that's a lot of people's opinion, that I had a great match with Alex Wright. So he goes, well, basically, if that's what you think. I said, well, again, that's what everybody thinks. He goes, well, I don't think so. I said, well, I rightly don't give a fuck what you think. What else you got? So that was the end of the conversation. I mean, it was abrupt, just like that. So I finished out my tour, and that was it. I went to Europe, to Otto Vance, and he made me European champ. And when I lost the belt, I basically got off the plane and I said I had enough wrestling. I walked away.
One of the things that I think that people like about that match in particular is that there's a bit of an edge to it, a bit more realism, in the way it carries out. And I suppose maybe people didn't know at the time looking at it what was going on, but I think in hindsight, when you can kind of look back on it now, you can understand where you were coming from at the time. But in terms of Alex, then, have you guys ever spoken since that moment?
Yeah, in text messages.
Okay.
He talked about bringing some of my students over and putting them on his show. Again, it was nothing personal.
Yeah.
He was a young kid. He's a good kid. They had ideas. I heard of some ideas that really weren't cool or kosher with him. But that wasn't, for me to stick up for the dude. I just told him, as a young kid, I said, listen, you're a good looking guy. They could really promote you. Just watch your back. I mean, watch your back. And I hope you understand what I'm telling you. So, again, it was one of those things, I pressed him over my head. That wasn't planned. I was just pissed. I was pissed at what they did. It was a heel crowd, in Maryland. It was a heel crowd. They were cheering the hell out of me. Yeah. He missed. I missed. He missed. We both missed that hip toss coming off the ropes. I still went, didn't care. And like I said, I protected me. I had to protect me. It was my career. And when I got to Germany, people, I shouldn't say people, wrestlers, workers, all came up to me. Even Otto came up to me. And he said, had you gotten beat, I would never have called you up, never have brought you over here. And I was like, wow, and I even at the time I was married. And she had said, oh, you let your ego get in the way. You got fired. I said, let my ego get in the way. I said, I was protecting my career. I said, you understand if I just went out there, worked a match and got beat, nobody would use me again. I went out there and I was strong. And I thought I had a really good match. So you know what? Like I said, when I got to Germany, that's what guys were saying. You wouldn't be here, man, if you didn't have that match the way you did. And I was like, okay, that's an opinion. We'll never know, right? Yeah. The difference. I mean, even though a promoter told me. So again, I left it at that. Nothing against Alex. I think we're cool. I think it's all good. Yeah. It wasn't personal. It was business.
Yeah. We're 20 minutes into the stream now, still waiting on Rick, but I don't think he's going to show up.
He's not going to call, man. Listen, no. He's not going to call.
Rick wants, somebody told me that Rick wants $25,000 to do a podcast like this.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what I heard.
You should give him 50. Give him 50.
You think he'll do it for 50?
Yeah, well, I guess, look, anybody. So let's go back a little bit now, okay?
Yeah.
Let's touch on some things that I wasn't really clear about last time we spoke.
Yeah.
And I like to clear it up because, again, people, at least not the fan base that I have, because my Facebook blew up with nothing, I shouldn't say nothing, with just positive responses. And most of them were, he's not going to wrestle you, Paul. He's not going to wrestle you. Okay, I get that. I get all that. He's been champion, Lord only knows how many times, right? Which also means that you had to have lost it 18 times or whatever, 17, whatever the case may be. Okay.
Yeah.
The longest reigning champion as a male was Bruno Sammartino. As a female, it was what's her name? Gosh, she's an old timer.
Oh,
Fabulous Moolah.
Moolah, yeah.
Okay, it was Moolah. So the overall champion of any time was obviously Moolah, but Bruno Sammartino was the longest, men's champion. It's like close to 3,000 days or something like that. He held the title, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So that to me is huge. You're winning it, you're losing it. You win it last week, you lost it this week. You win it 3 weeks later, you kept it for 2 weeks, you lost it again. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so everybody, he's the greatest, he's greatest. Is he? Is he really? You had somebody who you had Buddy Rogers, right? You had Buddy Landell. They're both the Nature Boys. And then you came up with Ric Flair, who is a Nature Boy, right? So you could go down. There's a few people that kind of sort of copied names, but there you go. As far as I'm concerned, he has 3 moves. He has a chop, he has a face plant, and he has it over the turnbuckle. 3 moves. 3. Now, I believe in his podcast with Pritchard, he had made a statement. And you want to tell me what that statement was?
This is with Conrad Thompson.
He does. Oh, it's with Conrad? I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought it was with Pritchard. My apologies.
No, Conrad does a lot of podcasts with pro wrestlers. So I'll show you what it is, and you can have a look and see if you think that this is directed at you. I'm pretty certain it is. So let me just get that up there.
And if I made a mistake and didn't drink enough water, yes, I'm drinking lots of water now. But I'm drinking it with beer.
Some things never change.
No, I'm just saying they're trying to. What comparison are you drawing? There is no comparison.
I agree.
Some of these guys that want to have their last match never had a first good match.
Oh.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just talking about one person I saw. Nobody mentioned yet.
I love you for that.
Nobody we mentioned, but the hell.
I saw the picture too, and it got sent to me a lot, and I think we all had a chuckle.
Yeah.
I think it was directed towards me.
I think so, and the one thing that I kind of want to get from that is, like, if they obviously he's referring to probably the picture that I put out on Twitter with the caption that you challenged Rick for a last match. I'm just wondering why. Even I know Conrad's very active on social media for all these wrestler guys he looks after, and obviously Rick knows about this and he knows about it, but they could have just said, you know what, not interested, want to go somewhere else, go in a different direction, whatever they may have said, but to most definitely reference you whilst not saying your name for whatever reason. Does Rick think that he's so above you that he can't mention you? Is that what I taken from that clip?
I mean, that's what I got from it. I think he doesn't want to mention my name to give me that credit. Right? Look, let's get something really, really straight. And all the wrestling fans. And by the way, again, you're reaching a lot of people. Your podcast, because like I said, my social media blew up. But let's just talk about a couple people. Now, there's people that legit. I'm not talking about somebody allowing you to win a belt and then you giving it back and then, back and forth, back and forth. Remember, let's talk about people like Mad Dog Vachon. These are Olympians, right? Bad News Brown, another Olympian. You got Kurt Angle. Do you honestly think that somebody could beat these guys? Beat Kurt Angle? Really? In wrestling? He's a gold medalist. There's not a person in professional wrestling that could beat this guy. He has to let them win if they want to win. Okay? That's legit. Rick is living in a fantasy world. That's what I try to tell people. Okay, that's why for me, I'm just who I am. You take me, you leave me, you like me, you don't. I rightly don't care what you think. It's no big deal to me. I'm not here put on this earth to please you. But reality is that I can't beat Kurt Angle. But if Kurt Angle lets me beat him, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's the only way. Does Rick think that he's really beating these guys? You've won, what is it, 18, 17?
16, I think.
16? Okay, whatever. They let you win. What is it you're not understanding? They let you win. You, of all people, you went on Conrad's and you said, we practiced the match. So you practiced with these guys before you went out and wrestled against them? Really? That's a pro? That's what it is? Oh, and we're going to blame you not being able to do anything on dehydration. That's a good one. I did. That's good. No, that's good. Because you know what? That's what you are. You're an excuse. You got 3 moves, which you can't do anymore, but 3 moves. And these guys, true Olympians, those are the winners. Guess what? They don't lose their gold. Do you know that? They don't lose their gold once they get it. You do. And that's why if I want a belt, hey, great honor. Thank you. I appreciate it. But if I don't, it doesn't tell everybody who and what I am as a person. I mean, what? So let me ask you this, which was brought to my attention, and I was going to bring it up, but you know what? What the hell? If you can't even mention my name because you are not man enough to mention my name, oh, you never had a good first match. Really? That's funny. I worked against you. You told me to call the match. You weren't going to call it. Remember that in Germany? You can't think back that far. Probably not. But when it came down to real, who's the one who got his ass whooped by his daughter's boyfriend? It wasn't Paul. It was you. What happened? You didn't get to practice the match or the fight? Huh? He didn't put you over? Funny how that works out, huh? Circle of life. Here, let me run this by everybody. The circle of life. So, we're born and, our parents, God bless that we have them both. They raise us, right? They feed us because we can't feed ourselves. We piss and shit ourselves and they wipe our asses. That's great. And as we get older, they start to teach us a little bit more. Some people get taught about respect and they understand respect, and some they don't get taught that. And if they do, they forgot what it is and how to put it forward. And my point I'm getting to is this. So you grow up, and you learn to wipe your own ass, take care of yourself. And then as you get older, you know what the old saying is? You go right back to wearing that diaper, baby, and having somebody wipe your ass. So the way I look at it is just that. Maybe that person needs somebody to wipe his ass, and it sure the hell ain't me. I could kick your ass, but I'm not wiping your ass. So you know what? I never expected I never expected him. I thought he'd be a little bit more of a man than that, but I never expected him to go that route. I at least thought he'd say, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to work against you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand we said things about each other. I understand you're a horseman. I understand there could be a little bit of magic in the air to see horseman against horseman, especially one that you don't agree with. But you want to go that route. You want to hide behind that little statement that you made. Go right ahead. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I never expected him to say yes.
Yeah. I think like some of the feedback that I seen online was like, oh no, don't do another match. He doesn't need this, Paul, whatever like that. But Rick is the one himself that said after this last match that he's open for more matches. So it's not like you're trying to just pick a guy up off the floor who hasn't got anything left in the tank, and maybe he doesn't. But this guy said he's open for more matches. So that's where the challenge came from.
Well, again, I thought it would be of interest, that he obviously has nothing good to say about me. And again, horseman against horseman, bring it. Let's see what the horsemen are really all about. Are you going to talk about your age? You're older than me. Is that what it is? So let's compare bedpans. Okay. He talked about all these injuries that he had. So C3 and C4 in my neck are deteriorating. So I can't turn my head fully either way. Okay. From flying off the top ropes, I got 2 elbows that don't straighten out from all the damage. I have 2 total knee replacements. Lower back is shot, of course, from flying off the top rope. And I had the Widowmaker. They replaced 5 arteries in my heart. I had less than 1% chance to live, and I did live. So what's he talking about? What's the problem here? I have all these issues, and I'm ready to go. I'll run up those ropes, or I'll walk up backwards just to show everybody that I still got it. The question is, are you willing to take it? And I say no. He can't even address it, let alone take it. Again, I just thought it'd be of interest to the people. And from your podcast and what you threw out there was a lot of interest. Yeah. He's just not going to address it. He's going to hide behind the curtain, and that's fine. That's good. Listen, I did it. I threw it out there, and he ain't accepting it. Ali said, hey, come on. Foreman said, let's do this. Let's rock and roll. And they did.
Mm-hmm. And a few people have been in touch with us, and I will say, and have given us some contacts for Rick via emails and even phone numbers and things like that. And we don't really want to go down that road at all because,
listen, again, I said it your last podcast. You just said it, but you said it in a very appropriate way. Okay. You said that he wants $25,000 to come on a podcast. Okay. So,
allegedly.
Right. So I'm not even going to say the word. I used it last week, and I'm going to leave it out there. Okay. That's what it's all about. Again, I go back to what I said. I stick by it. It's out there. He wants it. Here it is. It'll bring the interest. Do I think it will pack the place? Yeah, I think it'll pack a place. I think people are going to want to see Roma go. And I think they're going to want to see what Ric Flair does. I'll let him hit him with his 3 moves. He could chop me. He could, go flying over the turnbuckle and he could do a face plant. That's great. Yeah. Can I still drop kick? Let's see. Can I walk up backwards the ropes? Let's see. Let's see what I got. Can I pick you up and toss you around? Let's see.
In terms of yourself, when was your last match, Paul?
I had a match in California, December of last year, I believe it was December of last year. A very good friend of mine wanted to wrestle, and we did. We went out and basically had some fun. And that was actually my scar opened up on my chest. It was pretty much fresh. So, yeah, I bled a little bit, went to the hospital, got it cleaned up, and right back from California to Connecticut I came. So, and then I just started to dabble in autograph shows.
Yeah. So are you officially retired, or you haven't made a retirement announcement as such yet, have you?
Oh no. I've been retired for years now. It's just when, some people will say, hey, can you do this or can you do that? Hey, again, do I want to? I don't know. It all depends. Where's it at? Where do I have to go?
If Rick did accept this challenge and you fought him, would you use that as your retirement match, or do you think that would maybe get a bit more hunger into you to do more?
No, I mean, if the opportunity arose, would I be excited about it? Yeah, because it's so long, so many years have passed. And it's something that kind of means something. When you have a match with somebody now, it's a match. You know what I'm saying? But when you have a match with somebody that you were affiliated with, well, that's a little different. There's a little more to it. And, building this up would make it even more justified.
Yeah.
Would it be my last? Yeah, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, last year was my last. It's just strange. It's really weird. I don't need it to make my life complete. As you can see, I just, it arose. Somebody said, hey, did you see this? And I went, well, why not me? Right? I mean, you have no animosity with Jared or the other guys. There's no angle there. And you went out and you practiced the match, and then you went out and you put on a play, right? You showed everybody what you practiced. Okay. Well, want to practice again?
Off Rick for a second. I just want to talk about the night that you and Jim bet Brett and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and what that meant to you at the time.
What's that? That when what?
You and Jim Powers defeating Brett and Jim the Anvil Neidhart in a tag team match. It was an off-television event. I think they were champions at the time, but they didn't. The belts weren't on the line, basically. And I think that was the one that we talked about Mr. T last time. I think he was alleged to come in.
Right.
I think for that match,
Well, so I was happy that they allowed us to do that.
Yeah.
And that's always how I looked at it. Right? I didn't beat them. Mm-hmm. Right? I didn't. Now, obviously, you celebrate in the ring and for the people, and is it an honor? Yeah, these guys laid down for us, right? They let us beat them. And I thanked them when we got in the back. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I don't need that medal around my waist. I understand what it means, but again, I was in wrestling for a totally different reason. I got into wrestling for one reason, and that was to become a role model for kids, because my sister was born with Downs, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go and visit hospitals, cancer clinics, make a name for myself, so that when I walked in, if these kids watched wrestling, they knew who I was. And, you inspire them. And that's what I did. When they lit up, when you walked in the room, they knew who you were. And, you tell them, hey, I'm with you, man. Keep fighting. Hand somebody your glory shirt and give them a story behind it as to why and what it represents and what it means, right? So that's why I got into wrestling.
Yeah. We'll wrap up on Vince McMahon, I think. And Mario always has multiple stories about Vince, and he was telling me about how Vince used to kind of go out when you guys were pulling women and stuff like that. What's your best Vince McMahon story that you can remember? I know Mario is normally your memory guy, and he'll trigger something.
One I think is great. So Hercules and I were in the gym, as was Vince. And Vince said, hey, what are you guys doing? So we said, I don't know, and I can't remember what body part we were working. So he goes, hey, can I work in with you guys? And we're like, yeah, I mean, you're Vince McMahon. Of course you can work in with us. So we did what we normally do. And, we push each other really hard. Well, the next day or so, we were in another gym and I saw Vince. So I said to Ray, I said, hey, let's go get Vince. I'll go get Vince, ask him if he wants to work out with us again. So I went over to Vince and I said, Vince, I said, come on, man, you want to work out or what? And he looks at me and he goes, get the fuck away from me. And I went, what? He goes, just get away from me. And I was like, okay. And I went back to Ray and I go, yeah, he doesn't want to work out with us. I said, we must have killed him the other day because he just, he was just adamant about, Roma, get the away from me. I was like, okay, I'm out. So I did. And that's one of the Vince stories. I just can't forget that. To me, it was funny.
You guys worked him pretty hard.
We had ours.
You worked him pretty hard.
We did, but that's just how we were. It's just how we trained. It was kind of fun. Yeah. It's one of those things. See how hard we can push each other. Yeah.
Listen, man, pleasure again talking to you today on the show. Look, the Rick thing is still out there. We don't think it's going to go anywhere, but it's there. I know that he will see some of this online on social media, on news and whatever, and just pick up the phone, give that man a call, Rick, or just say, I want to go somewhere else. I want to go down a different road, whatever.
Listen, let me ask you one last question, and everybody else can answer this. The fans can answer this, okay? If I'm right about when I joined the Horsemen, about taking all of his flash away from him, he doesn't want to get back in that ring with me. He doesn't want to stand next to me. He didn't want to stand next to me then because I had the best body in wrestling. One of the best looking in wrestling. And I can work. Maybe better in a tag team than singles. Maybe that's where my flow was, and that's fine. Whatever you want to do. But he wants to live in his world. He doesn't need Paul Roma coming in and messing up his world. Okay? Because Paul Roma's going to make him drink water, and Paul Roma's going to take away his beer. And he doesn't want that. Okay? He wants to stay hydrated, like he said, water and beer. So you know what? Let him be by himself. Let him do his own thing. I gave you the circle of life of what I think. I'm not there to change his diapers and wipe his ass. That's not what I'm there for. Never will be. Never was, never will be. So I really appreciate you bringing me back on. I'm glad we cleared up the Eric Bischoff thing. Roman Nation, thank you guys. I really appreciate, your support and I appreciate your support, Maurice, that, you have me back on.
Anytime, man. Anytime. We will do a show, hopefully maybe next month or the month after. I want to get you and Mario on the same show because I think that there'll be a lot of things flowing around then.
He's still crying that I pushed him out of the seat and, he fell down.
he took over his show. Hold on.
Yeah, I can't do that.
He's going to be watching this. I'll play his little intro music. Just going to play that there for him.
You got to do it for him.
We spent a lot of money on that video, man.
He's a great guy. He really is. You got a good one.
What a storyteller that man is. Like, I just, on the podcast today, we hit 250,000 views, 250,000 today in just under 2 years. And Mario Mancini accounts for nearly 20% of that. So there you go.
Wow. Are we on the air still?
Oh, we're still on the air.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Listen, I'm glad everybody heard that. I mean, that's huge. Listen, he tells me stories and he'll tell me what I said. And then I think back and go, wow, I really did say that. Like, how do you remember all this stuff?
Yeah. Like,
he remembers. Absolutely amazing.
He told a great story about when Vince was given the speech when the steroid trial was going on. And I think, he caught somebody with some type of drugs. I can't remember exactly. I think it was the Sheik maybe or somebody.
Sheik and Duggan.
Yeah. And he gave the big speech, and that was a fantastic story.
Yeah. Yep.
And just things like that. Were you there for that moment?
Oh boy. Yeah, I opened my mouth in that one. And when we walked out, because Vince looked at me and goes, Roma, what the F did you eat this morning? And then when we were leaving, Hawk turned to me and goes, hey. And he shook my hand. He goes, it was nice knowing you. He goes, yeah, after you said that to Vince, you're out of a job. It wasn't, I wasn't, but I just asked a simple question, and the question was basically this. So you'll keep the guys that are on top that screw up. But if there are other people that aren't, up there, you're going to fire them. And basically he snapped at me and asked me what the F I ate this morning. That's just the person that I am. I try to be truthful and straight. And for the most part, the guys got it. They understood. And like I told you last time, the ones that didn't, who cares?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we will get the two of you guys on because I think there'll be some good connections there and things that you'll remember together. And it'd be nice to have the two of you guys on anyway. And look,
37 years we've known each other, something like that.
Yeah, there's got to be some good story. I think he's got some stories in there that he's afraid to tell, and maybe you might get him out of him.
Not if they're about me.
We won't go into those stories. Listen, Paul, thanks a million for your time, man, today.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, man.
All righty. Bye-bye, everybody.